To continue this conversation, Republican Senator from Oklahoma, James Lankford. Welcome back, Senator.
Thank you. Good to be back again.
Okay, so let's talk about the fallout from the tariffs. You heard some of the folks that are worried in Williams reporting there about what's going to happen to their businesses. Reuters summarizes the last few days this way. In a matter of days, the president's imposed heavy tariffs on the world, made an abrupt U-turn on his decision, and intensified a trade war with China. Stocks globally have shed trillions of dollars, and world markets have gone into a tailspin. The U.S. dollar is also taken a hit. So we're in a 90-day pause now. What needs to happen in that pause?
So really what has happened is the stock market did have a shuffle for about 48 hours, and then it had a really great week at the end of this. So last week was a very good week for the stock market. There's a 90-day pause because so many countries have come at the administration and said, remember all those things that we blocked out for a long time? Just kidding. We want to be able to actually fix some of those things now. So whether it is Australian beef, whether it's Argentina, whether it's Japan, whether it's Vietnam, we've had trade issues where they've blocked out our products for a very long time. Now they're suddenly coming to the United States with paper to say, here are the things that we want to be able to solve. That is very good for America long term. We've got 3 months for the administration to be able to solidify a lot of these agreements. That will be helpful for the country for a very, very long time. If there's any one thing I hear from my farmers and ranchers, other than rain at the right time, it is we want to open up markets globally. We want to be able to sell our products around the world. Joe Biden refused to go do new trade agreements. President Trump is doing that immediately.
I want to ask about something else I'm sure you hear from your farmers, because we heard this conversation when we were in Kansas as well. It was about the amount of land that China has been buying up across the U.S. And we've got a map just showing how widespread that is. I know you've got a bill that does have some Democrat support on this. What would that bill do, and what are the odds it goes anywhere?
Right now, if a Chinese firm wants to be able to buy an American technology company, they have to go through a process to be able to actually be reviewed to do that. Obviously, the vast majority of them are going to be denied on that for that kind of request, but that's not true on agricultural land. If they want to buy ag land, they could buy ag land anywhere they want to be able to buy it. So that's something that we think we should have what's called a CFIUS review for those entities, North Korea, China, Russia, Iran. If they're interested in buying land in the United States, it's probably not because of anything helpful to us as the United States. So we want to have a basic review on it, to not have a total prohibition to say it could never, ever happen at any time. There may be some situation at some point. Can't imagine what that would be, but there might be. But it would at least put the hoops in place that they've got to actually be checked on that before they go through the process. We have seen it all over the country, and we know it is a real threat to the price, to in our state dealing with water and electricity and all the things, Chinese immigrant labor that comes in, often illegal immigrant labor that comes in to be able to work these facilities. So we want to be able to make sure that doesn't happen in the future.
By the way, you were part of trying to put together an immigration bill last year that did not move. Maybe it's been 2 years ago now. What are the odds now that Republicans have House, Senate, and White House that anything moves on that front, something substantive?
Yeah, the first things first, the president's used existing law to be able to actually close the border. You go back to when I was negotiating that bill, we had 12,000 people a day illegally crossing the border. Now we have less than 200 people a day even trying to cross the border. Dramatic change from the implementation of the law. That's one of the things I was pushing on before, just to get President Biden to be able to implement the law. There are still loopholes in the law that long term have to be resolved. When I was negotiating the bill a year ago, it wasn't about who the next president was. It's who's about the president 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now. Will those same loopholes be there that another president would exploit? So we still do have to resolve those. I don't anticipate it's this year or next year, quite frankly. It's very full. We got to get a farm bill done. We got to get tax policy done. We have 12 appropriation bills. We've got national defense authorization. There's a lot this year, but I do anticipate there'll be a time when the president's going to say, let's close all those loopholes so any future president doesn't exploit it again.
Okay, so among the to-do list, the House has passed the Senate's framework on this reconciliation budget bill. The Nonpartisan Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget had this reaction this week. They said the budget sets the stage for the largest deficit increase in history, an unprecedented bill that requires just $4 billion in savings to offset up to $5.8 trillion in deficits. They called it an absolute disgrace. GOP is supposed to be the party of fiscal discipline. Why did you vote yes on this?
So that is the wonderful Washington, D.C. math that's coming through on this. Washington, D.C. says they want all taxes to increase on every single American. because January the 1st of next year, every single farmer and rancher, every single small business, every single individual of all tax brackets, their rates will go up dramatically next year. And Washington, D.C. is saying, yes, increase taxes. Our Democrat colleagues are saying, yes, increase taxes. As simple as I can make this, Bill, it is about keeping tax rates the same. But in Washington, D.C., if you keep tax rates the same and don't increase them, they call that increasing deficits. What we want to do is decrease our spending, get rid of all the waste that's out there in spending, and we want to be able to maintain a good economic policy that we have currently right now. President Trump's 2017 tax bill led to an incredible increase in economic activity in the country and actually dramatically increase the amount of revenue coming in. As people make more money, they pay more taxes. That's a better way to do it than just jacking up tax rates, which will definitely increase inflation.
I had this same conversation with your friend, Senator Chris Coons, last week. And by the way, I had him on my podcast recently, and he talked about how much he respects you as a friend. You guys share faith. You have these conversations about your Christian faith. But you may have different priorities in the way that you act as a lawmaker and the things that you push for. Even though you both share that underlying faith, you've got a brand new book and you talk about faith and how important it is to a revival in America. Your new book is called Turnaround, America's Revival. This line from your book says, we cannot grade ourselves with grace and others with judgment. Each person must live up to the America we all want to see. So how do you get things done here in Washington with that in mind, knowing you may see the end result very differently?
We may actually. The book Turnaround is really focused on how do we actually as individuals engage in a national turnaround. Too often, even conservatives will say, I'm going to vote for the right person. They're going to fix the country. Washington doesn't change the country changes Washington. That's really how it happens. And so I asked the simple question, what can you do? How can we get engaged to be able to actually have a real national turnaround, personally, individually? And sometimes that's having grown-up conversations with people you disagree with to be able to resolve differences for the benefit of the country. But really, it's about how do we live out our faith and those faith principles in every single aspect of our life. So when I wrote Turnaround, it is optimistic, but it is a push to say, how can we do better as a country and as individuals to be able to have this long-term turnaround as a nation that we need?
Yeah, and I know that your faith very much translates into service for you and your friend, Chris Coons. So we hope you will continue those tough conversations with each other as well. Senator, thank you.
You bet. Glad to be able to do it. And Chris Coons even makes a guest appearance in the book. So glad to be able to do it. Keep praying for the nation and enjoy Palm Sunday.
You too.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.